Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Hybris, Disordered Cosmos. Hybris is brought to you by Boardgame Studio. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and games range in the area of 45 minutes per player. It is the end of an era. Primordial gods have fallen, hunted, captured, and tortured by their children. Chronos and his peers are nothing but remnants of an ancient world. The era of the Olympians has just begun. And after years of fighting, a new order is established. Zeus, his brothers and sisters dominate the heavens and the mortal world. Now they are trying to organize themselves to share the remaining realms and find out who will be the new ruler. But Olympians are not yet true gods. They must evolve, activate the spark that will turn them into true gods, even though their current strength is colossal. Moreover, they must establish their dominance in the realm of mortals by using the essence of their fathers, known as the aegis. The energy comes directly from the primordials themselves, who are captured and chained in the underworld. With this energy, Olympians can meet the expectations of the largest cities of ancient Greece by deploying their most beautiful and promising technologies. In Hybris, each player takes on the role of an Olympian who will become a real god, bringing technology and empathy to the people of ancient Greece. The god who will be able to grant the most favors to their people, or who will have discovered his true potential, will be awarded the throne of Olympus. So to win this one, you will have to have the most victory points at the end of 6 rounds, or you will have to be the first god to unlock all 6 of your improvements, which will automatically end the game. So this is a really big game. Not only does it have a ton of options, 20 plus actions I believe, that you can perform on your turn, but it takes up a ton of table space, and it is absolutely beautiful. And it might look daunting at first actually, because of all the possible actions you can perform. It is a worker placement, and the neat thing here is that all the things you'll be doing between the different realms are very thematic to this Olympic theme and the Olympic gods, which plays really, really well. So for this video, we're gonna hit the highlights. You know, for setup, there's a lot going on here, but you have 7 boards you're gonna place in this configuration around each other. And all these different locations, again, play into this Olympic theme and places you're gonna go to do all your worker actions. But the neat thing is, the first thing let's focus on is the fact that you have your own player board and asymmetric powers between all the gods, but not only a main power, but you also have all these improvements that you can unlock. Like I said, if you unlock all of them, then you will win the game automatically. But these really unlock in a way that they give you more and more powers throughout the game, keeping the game really fresh as you play each of the different gods and what combination of powers that you unlock first. And the neat thing here is that all the actions and things you're doing in this game are actually giving you ways to unlock a lot of these improvements. You're looking for spark, you're looking to do things with your temple and move workers off these different types of improvements so you can unlock them and have those powers. And also with these different type of improvements, you'll see on the board where it gives you a path. You have to unlock one thing before the next and so forth. So you have some choices to be made, and this game is all about choices. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. All the different things that you can do on your turn and all the possibilities and how you can chain things. Really, really neat. And each god has their own set of workers. You have warriors and you have prophets and of course your main god. You start with 3, and then as you unlock your improvements, you get to gain more workers, which is really fantastic because you're gonna be placing them out into all the different realms. And they can do some various things here, but you've got the prophets versus the warriors. You can't use prophets when you go in to engage in battle and so forth. But the thing is that you're gonna do some planning about where you're gonna put these workers up front, which is interesting. We'll get to that. And the first phase is the pillar phase. And so you'll be looking at the greatness track. The greatness track will determine who will get to choose a pillar card first. And throughout the game, this greatness track can move around. But to start, Zeus is gonna lead the way. Now, you're gonna grab one of these pillar cards, and these is gonna kind of dictate what maybe your actions are gonna be for the game. The number on the card will show what your placement or when you're gonna be able to perform your actions on your turn. And there's different benefits at the top plus the bottom. And the bottom of the card is going to benefit everybody at the table. And the interesting thing is if you don't use your card on your turn, you're still going to have to benefit everybody at the table. So you definitely want to utilize these cards when you activate your god or your worker out into the world. And then we move to phase 2, which is the planification phase. And here you have a series of tokens that correspond to the different locations out into the different realms. Now, you have to secretly choose where you're going to place your workers, and you'll place the token underneath your available workers, except for your god. Your god, well, it is the god after all. You can place them wherever you want, but you have to plan for the other workers, and you have to have enough Aegeus on hand to deploy them. So it's 1 Aegeus per worker that you deploy. Then phase 3 is the action phase. And this is where we're going to be deploying your workers. Now, again, based on the pillar cards, we'll determine this player order. But there are 7 different locations that you can go to, or 7 realms, I should say, I guess. And all of these do various things, and there's so many options here. We're not going to deep dive into all these things. But first, let's take a look at Olympus, because this is one of the ways that you're going to get a bunch of resources. If you have prayer, which is these metal cubes, prayer will give you the ability to get victory points, move up on the greatness track. You can get spark, and you can get temples, as well as your other workers. And the reason you need those resources is to unlock those improvements on your player board. And again, you have to do those in a certain order, so sometimes you can unlock an improvement with just 1 spark. So it might be worth it to get that power or ability. So that's the basics of what you're doing on Olympus, but Olympus also offers you the ability to get a blueprint. Basically, a blueprint is a building or something you're going to be placing out into the world and improving the mortal life. However, this is going to give your god victory points in doing so. And you can even chain things together to give you even more victory points. It's really clever, actually. But as soon as you grab a blueprint, it moves over to the forge, first starting in the workshop and then moving over to the factory floor to get built. And there's a kind of a track here, and it moves down and along. But as you get those built, then they're going to be available and put on your player board for you to place out into the mortal world at a later time. And then we move over to the Oracle. And in the Oracle, there are primordial cards. These cards will get flipped based on the different round you're in of the game, and they can do some pretty bad things, potentially. And you have the option of using this Oracle in order to help protect you against some of those effects. So you can also pull a premonition card, things like that, as you move into this realm. And there's a lot of icons in this game, but as you start to see them and play through the game, those icons all really solidify and work well together. And then we move to the realm of the Mores, and this is where you're going to be completing quests, using your battle cards potentially to go after whatever that quest calls for. Now, some of these quests are so complex that you'll have to go back multiple times in order to complete that quest, or you can try to continue as you move through it, taking some penalties. But really, quests are all about getting the reward. It might give you spark or whatever, but you want to get those quests to give you more resources. Again, it's a balancing act about where you're going to go to get the type of resources that you need. Then around the other side of the board, we move to the Underworld. Underworld is about draining the primordial and getting more Aegeus for you to use. Again, you need that resource to deploy workers. But you can also resurrect warriors that have fallen in the game. So it's a very valuable location throughout, just like all of these really. But it's very valuable to bring back warriors when they fall in battle and so forth. But then next up we have the Colosseum, that it gives you NPCs that you can battle it out with. And if you win that battle, then they come over to your side and now are your warriors to use throughout the game. And you're going to be using battle cards, and you're going to be comparing strength and so forth. And some of these battle cards are neat because they can chain together. But the thing here is that you have to beat them in order to win them. So it's a really neat mechanic for this particular where you get more warriors and things for your god. But this is the Colosseum. So that brings us back to the middle of the board, which is the Mortal Realm. And this is where you're going to be doing numerous things, but really the 2 main things as you deploy in each of the 5 cities is the first thing you'll notice is that there's a prayer symbol. The hands are together. That means you're generating prayer and putting it in the prayer well. That's opposed to the hands open when you spend prayer. So you generate the prayer based on where you are and put it in that well. And then you have the choice to do influence or deploy. Now, Influence is about getting followers, and they're represented by the meeples. But you can deploy those technologies that you worked on in the Forge that are now on your player board. You can deploy into those cities. And again, you'll see these lines that resonate out between the different cities. And if you can connect different things together, you can get all kinds of victory points and so forth. And so that's the basics of what's going on here. There's actually a lot of things and how you put this together, but that's just the basics. And if you land on the same spot as someone else because you chose that, in the planning stage, well, then you might have to battle it out. You know, not if it's a prophet, but if war, you're going to battle it out, and you have tokens to help you if you're going to continue and stop the battle and so forth. But again, you're going to do it the same way you did in the Colosseum. You're going to be using your battle cards, getting the most power and so forth. But it's a pretty straightforward mechanic how those battle cards work. But that's the really kind of the overall basics of everything you're doing in the game. Now, like I said, there's a ton of depth here. I'm just giving you broad strokes. There's a lot of neat things, and you definitely should check out all the different possibilities off their campaign page, because there's so many different things to choose from and all the different paths that you can follow in this game. Just really gives you this amazing amount of choices, which, you know, might seem daunting for those who are not used to that, but I think that adds a lot to this game. Now there's actually a fourth phase. It's the end of the age phase, and you'll be advancing the round tracker, you'll be resetting everything, the pillar cards and so forth. But the game comes to an end if you hit that 6th round and then you total up all your victory points and all your bonuses and so forth, or one player has unlocked all their improvements. And really, I found in playing, that was my goal throughout. I really wanted to unlock those. It was really my driving force in the game. But you don't have to do it that way. I like that there's different choices and where you can move. But there's 2 different paths to victory. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview. Everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep an eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this is probably one of the best prototypes I've ever seen. Wow, it is super impressive. And they have like the recessed boards for tracking and keeping all your different items and so forth. Now, one of the things I didn't mention is that in that planning stage, when you're deciding which tokens we're going to place workers, well, you have to put those in a holding area basically, and you can't just revisit those same spots next round. You'll have to wait until the following round to do so. So that's an interesting thing too about in that planning, how it kind of forces you to do more or a broader range of the different worker placement spots. I really like that. Again, this game just provides you with so many choices and so many different directions. And it is that bigger kind of worker placement Euro style game for sure. It kind of puts me in mind of like Gaia Project or something like that, but it is bigger for sure. And if you like games with tons of choices, this absolutely has that. It is just fantastic. And the way the theme really comes through in all of the choices you're making, love that. It's so good. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.